So today we're gonna assemble a CRF 70 engine for my child. Now I got this motor with a stuck intake valve. When I first got it, I put a new intake valve in it, got the motor back together and reran it for a couple weekends. The last time that we were out riding it, it stuck an intake valve again. So I was kind of concerned and trying to figure out what caused it. And what it comes down to at the end of the day is it had bad gas. Now bad gas is stale fuel that's old. I'd say most of the fuels that we get nowadays are 90 days shelf life where they're still good. Other than that, it starts causing catastrophic engine failures. Okay, so here's the cylinder head. This is the intake side. This is the exhaust side. The bigger valve is the one that was sticking. And what it is the bad gas enters through there and it gets sticky on the valve guide and it hangs the valve up once it gets some temperature in the head. These are a couple selection of new valves I got. We're just anticipating this may happen again. Here we go. We're gonna do the top end install on this bike that we talked about earlier. I have my parts lined up. I have my head that's rebuilt. I got all my gaskets and bolts laid out. Engine's all apart and prepped just to go back together at this stage. Well, here we go. We're gonna start and set the engine up at top dead center before we install anything here. I got the chain, a little slack there, and there's a line over here that says T for top dead center, and there's a line that says F, and that's the fire for the ignition system. So first we're gonna set it up at the line here to the line in the case. Brand new head gasket, I like to use them all the time on every engine that we do. So we'll slide that over, put it over the dowel pins. Okay, now there's an O-ring that goes between the cylinder head and the cylinder itself. So make sure that's installed. Now we're gonna take the head. I already reset everything, it's all good, ready to go. New valves. Let's install this little thing here. See if I can get it in here with the fender on. I think I took it apart with it on the kickstand, so it's easier with the wheel turn. Yeah, let's go set this in here. That, you know what I mean? So we're gonna go, now that we've got the head on, we're gonna make sure we go down right to the dowel pins. There's one in each corner over there, so we wanna make sure we're all the way on. So make sure while you're doing this, you got your chain right here, so it's not all tucked up inside the case. So you got access to it. I just pull them to the side a little bit like that. Now we got the head gasket in, the O-rings in. We need to put the top cover on. So these covers have a little arrow right there. That always points down on these motors because they're offset just a little bit. So if you set your gasket right there, sometimes you can see which way it goes and then flip the gasket over. See, right there. Put that on now. So now we're just gonna put the nuts on. There's sealing washers on 3 of these with acorn nuts. This bolt right here takes a copper washer with just a regular nut that goes on that corner. On all these 50s, 70s, 90s, 125s, they're all the same, all the way up to these big bikes on the little sideways motors there. Okay, so the copper washer goes in that corner with the special nut. Now the torque on these, and I have a cheat sheet down here, are 8 foot-pounds, 96 inch-pounds. So I got my torque wrench out right here, and I'm already set up at 96. So now we're gonna torque these in. We're gonna do a little star pattern when we do these corner, 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 corner. And we're gonna go in and check them. We do a star pattern so that it doesn't warp the head, doesn't pull everything down in one corner before it's all seated to the block, to the cylinder itself. So we do it a little bit at a time so you don't warp anything. That'll make gaskets last longer if it's done correctly. So I just keep going a little bit tighter until we hear it click. There you go, there you go. Okay, head's torqued in. One more bolt that goes down, holds the cylinder to the cylinder block, and I gotta find it. Should be right here. Yeah, so I'll finger tight these in so you can feel for a bad thread or if anything's in the threads that you might want to pull the bolt out and clean it, usually. So I'll try to screw it in as far as I can, but we're right about there. So it's hard to get a socket into these because it's super close right there, so they put a little Phillips head in there and you can use a torque wrench on that, but that's just still, I just go in and do a little bit of snug on it and it's usually good. So now we have to set our cam timing up. And the cam should be pretty close to where it needs to be. we're gonna see. I should be able to move that around a little bit. Now there's gonna be another mark. You got this TDC mark, so you know your piston's at top dead center. Now we got a cam. Yeah, right there. A little notch in the case. A little circle right there. So you want to have that set up with this line set up and that dot set up, and that'll keep your cam timing in right where it needs to be. Let's see how close I got to time. It was not right here. I'm gonna go grab another tool and try to line that cam gear up. I'm in time right now. Everything feels good. I just gotta move the camshaft over so I can get the bolts in. So I'm gonna grab another tool where I can straighten that out. All right, so now that I got the gear pop back on there, I wanna move the camshaft over just a little bit. And you can, if you could see that in there, you can see the camshaft move. Now that'll make it real difficult for you to get your bolts in there right now without, but I can wiggle it around almost with the bolt to get it started. So now I'm gonna install these bolts to hold the cam gear to the camshaft. Okay, we're gonna set the torque on them ones right there to 6.5 foot-pounds or 78 inch-pounds. Clip. Clip. Now, let's roll the engine around a few times. The spark plugs out, so you can do this by hand. It's pretty easy. And I'll line it up. Let's see if my cam timing's right. I'm gonna roll it around again just to make sure. Now there's an arrow on here that'll show you direction of rotation. So. Oh, it might be off a tooth. Yeah. Yep, pretty sure I'm off a tooth right there. If you set it up to top dead center here and that mark lines up like we talked about, that dot should be lined up with that dot. And if you take a look right now, it's off a tooth. So this is common that we see a lot sometimes. So I just proved it here. I'll do it myself. And I'm off a tooth. I'd like to see it right there. And if you look how far away I am up here, I'm not on T anymore. I'm almost on the fire stroke right there. So I'm gonna take that bolt out of that gear again, and I'm gonna pop it off, and I'm gonna try this again. And this is why we always check this, because it's a common mistake. You wanna check your work. If you're off a tooth, you're right there. It's easy to fix. So now's the time to do it instead of just putting it together and hoping everything works out good. See if I can get this off there now. So I'm just gonna jump the chain of tooth here and see what happens. Pretty sure that'll do it. But I'm pretty confident that we're gonna be good to go here. And then we'll pop a couple more covers on it. Be real close to getting it started. So here's a couple more covers. This is just the cover that would go over here. The bolt's gonna go right through the center of the camshaft on this side and bolt that cover in. So there's a gasket for this piece. There's a gasket for this piece. Okay, here we go. What I don't like is how that fit out. Check, make sure the gasket's aligned here. Make sure everything sits flush. Okay, now we're just gonna bolt this up. There's always a little washer on there, a little sealing washer. Could leak oil there. So now we'll just put the cap on the other side and tighten these all down. Okay, so here's the bolt from the other side coming through, and this just screws it on the cover here. So, and there's a little stop built in right there, so as I tighten it, it just doesn't try to spin that thing all the way around. Okay, now, go back to my cheat sheet, and there is a torque spec for that one. We're using the torque wrench again on this side, if you can see me through here. But we're using torque wrench, torque spec 96 inch-pounds. So I'm going progressively between all these bolts so we don't smash anything or warp anything in there. Okay, we're good there. Cylinder head on, the cylinder head cover on, the side covers are on. We need to put the caps for the valve adjustment. Now, valve adjustment I set on this bike when I did the cylinder head, so we don't need to go through that right now. So it's already set, but we just need to screw the caps on it and get the carburetor intake manifold on, the exhaust system on, and new spark plug in there, and I think we're good to fire it. Okay, so keep in mind these caps that go over the valve adjustment things have O-rings on them. Put new O-rings on them, make sure they're in good shape so you won't have a leak. Okay, I got them hand tight right now. I know they go all the way in. I felt the O-ring crush. We'll just get the wrench on there and give them a little tighten. Now these don't go too tight so you can get them off easily next time. Get a spark plug in there and she's about ready to go. And we want to tighten up your roller too. Don't want to forget that. Tighten the roller, make sure you're all good there. Roll around, everything's still free. You can feel the valves. Okay, and other than that, I think we're ready to rock and roll.